All right, now let's return to one of our top stories now, and about the issue of the EU member states suffering under a financial crisis. Let's talk to British MEP and Eurosceptic Gerard Batten. Good to see you. So tell me, is the situation the end of the European super-state dream? Do you think perhaps Brussels bit off more than it could chew?
Oh no, I think this is an inevitable step on the way to increasing economic and political union, which is what the European Union is all about. And I think this current move to create economic and financial governance of Europe is inevitable from the European Union's point of view. It just happens that the financial crisis actually gives them an excuse to actually try and speed the process up and make it happen.
But now it took so long to agree to the Lisbon Treaty in the first place, and now Germany and France want to change it. Surely no one ever thought that all EU members would do equally well financially, did they?
Well, I think what this is about is whether there's going to be a new treaty and therefore inevitably a referendum in the UK on a new treaty. And I think that what they'll try to do is to force through these new rules under existing competencies and transfers of power under the Lisbon Treaty. And what the speculation is in the British press, and I would tend to go along with it, is that David Cameron will try to do some kind of deal so he gets a bit of a reduction in the UK budget hike for the EU, so he can trumpet that as a great victory while this whole stuff goes through. He'll say we won't be affected by it because we're not in the euro, but that won't apply because Mr Rompuy in his report has said that these new conditions should apply to Europe and euro members. So I think inevitably in the mid to longer term they will apply to all European states, whether they're in the euro or not. And of course what he's proposing, for example, is that there should be penalties for countries that have a larger deficit than they're supposed to happen, and they could impose fines on them. So Britain could well find itself in that position in the future.
All right, now let's turn our attention to the issue of penalties and that of France and Germany. Sarkozy and Merkel want to deprive the weaker countries of voting rights, and we're talking about penalties here. Could this just be the beginning? Are we going to see countries thrown out of the EU in the future? How bad could it get?
Well, no, I don't think you're going to find countries thrown out of the EU, because the one thing that the EU wants to do is to keep on expanding. It certainly doesn't want to contract. But yes, that is mooted in the proposals that they could take away take away countries' voting rights if they infringe these financial regulations and requirements. And I think this is where it could affect the UK, because the UK has a very large budget deficit, and we could well find ourselves saying that we won't be affected by this, and then find that under the rules that we actually have our voting rights removed, even though we're not a member of the euro, because we infringe the requirements on budgetary deficits. So Cameron should give us a referendum. He obviously won't, because it's the last thing on earth that he wants, because he knows that there would be a no vote in the UK. So we'll see another typical Tory weasel out of this situation, whereby, as I said earlier, he'll try to claim some fantastic victory like John Major did with the Treaty on European Union, while at the same time leading us deeper into European political and economic union and then the awful morass that we're in.
Well, I was just going to say, so I'm running out of time now, but just if you take a step back, tell me this quickly. How is the health of the EU?
How is what? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
How is the health of the European Union?
Well, I mean, economically, it's in a terrible state because of the European single currency. Greece, Portugal, Spain, all these countries, their economies are going down the tubes because they're fixed into the European single currency, and what they really need is floating exchange rates. But from a political point of view, the European Union is powerful than ever. It's under the Lisbon Treaty, vast more areas of power were given to the EU. So from its own political point of view, it's doing very well. Practically 80-odd% of new laws now come out of the European Union, not domestic parliaments. So from their point of view, it's all fine. And their problem is always that there isn't enough European Union. Not that there's too much of it, but they don't have enough power. So they see every crisis as an excuse for demanding more power to solve the problems that they created in the first place.
All right, Gerard Batten, a member of the European Parliament. Thank you.